The month of November has come to a close, so I'm gonna rank all 5 November new releases that I saw from the worst to the best. Hi, my name is Nathan, and I talk about a bunch of movies and TV shows on this channel. If you're new here, down below in the comment section, share your ranking of the November movies that you saw. As a point of reference, I've only seen 5 movies this month. I have not seen much this month, but maybe you guys have seen something that I haven't that you think I will enjoy, so share that down below in the comment section. Also, over on my channel, I have more content like this. Check those out once this video is over. Click that like button and be sure to subscribe because it really does help. With that said, let's just get straight into the ranking. In last place, The Marvels, and this is really frustrating for me because I hate it when I put an MCU movie at the bottom of these rankings because this is a childhood franchise to me. I grew up watching through the Infinity Saga, and I've watched every single movie, every single show in the MCU, and so with this film, I didn't necessarily go in with high expectations from what I thought about the trailers for this movie, but even so, I have to be honest, I think that this might be my least favorite film in the entire MCU for a number of reasons. And so the movie has this fun, jokey vibe with a bunch of sequences, scenes, and characters. I think Miss Marvel's a fun character. There are some fun sequences where there's just some nice little small scenarios in the MCU, but it's very goofy and silly as a liability to the film. And what I mean by that is that it just goes a bit too goofy and silly at times, where it ends up coming off as cringy. There's a certain sequence in this movie where our leads go to the not the characters, but they go to a set of people on a planet where their language is singing.
No! No!
And that's probably one of the most cringiest scenes in the entire MCU that I've seen. It's fun at times, and it just tries so hard to go for a gag, a laugh, that it ends up being cringy. There are no meaningful character arcs. Like Captain Marvel kinda has an arc in this movie, but it's not really effective in the way it's executed. The antagonist is not intimidating at all. The plot, her villain plot, is very uninteresting. And so this is not necessarily what the MCU needs right now. And I have to say it's my least favorite in the MCU because I don't imagine any time I'm ever going to rewatch this movie and throw it on. It's probably more enjoyable to you guys, but to me, I didn't find this to be a worthy addition to the MCU. Number 4, The Killer. And I know a lot of you guys probably enjoyed this movie a lot more than I did. But the reality is, I didn't watch this movie when it first came out on Netflix. I watched it a week late, and I went in so excited. I had heard such great things about it. It's a new David Fincher film. That always has me excited. But a new thriller with Michael Fassbender as the lead, as a contract killer, that sounds interesting to me. So naturally, it got my attention. I was drawn towards it, and I watched it, and it's safe to say that I didn't see what several people saw in this film. Maybe you shouldn't take my review too seriously. I'm a 14-year-old kid. The people that enjoyed it are probably much older than I am and are adults who can find this stuff more entertaining. And so maybe 10 years later, I will enjoy this movie a lot more. But I just found it to be a massive disappointment to me. It starts off with an interesting setup and concept where you have this contract killer played by Michael Fassbender, and he gets a mission wrong. He shoots, he misses, so he has to clean up the mess, do whatever he can do. And so it starts off with this interesting little concept. What I love what David Fincher did with this film in particular was that there was a creative use of perspective and storytelling as it's from the perspective of Michael Fassbender's character. So the entire movie, it's like Michael Fassbender talking and those are his thoughts. You're seeing his thoughts, or you're hearing his thoughts while he's doing a bunch of things. But I just found the structure and actual story flow of the movie to be quite odd. It's way too repetitious, I will say, because the way the movie is split up, it'll put like chapter markers on the screen, like chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and all of them, all the way up until the very end, is him kind of doing the same thing over and over. Like he goes to an airport, changes his identity, he goes to a place to kill someone, and he repeats this cycle throughout the entire film. And so that's what I really didn't like about it. By the time we got to like the midpoint of the movie, I was just like, oh, I started like rolling my eyes, which was like, okay, he's gonna go to an airport, do something. And it's kind of also of a revenge story where I didn't feel the revenge aspects of it. And I think a better story flow and a better story in general probably would have elevated this movie a good bit. But I don't overall think that this movie worked as a cohesive whole. And so, in general, like, maybe you guys enjoyed it more than I did, but as a thriller, I don't know when I'll be ever turning this one on again. And especially because it's from David Fincher, I thought it was disappointing. In third place is going to be Wish. This is the latest Disney animation film. And I know a bunch of people hated this movie. I watched it and I went, I thought that was good enough. Good enough. I go positive on it. Very much a mixed positive, but I go positive on it. From 3 to 1, I go positive on all these movies. This one's very much a mixed positive, though. And so, this movie always, it just falls into that middle ground. Where it didn't amaze me, but it didn't do anything to annoy me, and it didn't offend me. And it just kind of falls into that middle. That's all you can really say about this movie. And that's particularly disappointing because Disney, of course, is a major studio, and this was the movie to be their 100-year anniversary special, was this movie. But I just didn't really get much out of it. I thought it was good, but it just stuck so close to playing by the Disney formula. It doesn't add any new twist to the mix. It's just something I've probably seen before, and I've seen done better. And so, what's inherently fun about this movie is that there are several Easter eggs to other Disney movies, where a character will say a line of dialogue, and it will remind you of some other Disney movie. And our set of characters, the lead character, her friends are literally based on the Seven Dwarfs from Snow White. And so there's several Easter eggs, and I found those to be quite fun. And there are some charming characters and fun songs, but the characters are not very memorable. The songs are not very memorable. And so it's just one of these movies that just feels kind of there and ends up just being good enough. It's not bad. I thought it was good, but it didn't also do anything good like other Disney movies have. And so, in general, just a movie that I think could and should have been better than it actually was. Our runner-up, Thanksgiving. This, if you don't know what this is, it is a schlocky B-movie slasher based on one of the trailers from Grindhouse. Grindhouse is a double feature from 2007, 16 years ago, where they showed Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof and Robert Rodriguez's Planet Terror, showed those as a double feature, and in between those, there were fake movie trailers, and one of them was Thanksgiving. And it was adapted into this movie, Thanksgiving. And so basically, this movie is like a Scream-like schlocky slasher murder mystery. That's what this movie is. And It's not breaking any new ground, much like Wish, but I enjoyed this movie a lot more. I would say there's a pretty big jump in quality for me from Wish up to Thanksgiving, because I had a blast watching Thanksgiving. It has all the schlocky gore effects, all of the violence that you want from a slasher like this, but it's just this fun murder mystery that I think works on its own terms, where it's a guy running around with an axe killing people, and you're trying to find out who the killer is, and when it's revealed, it makes sense. Like, I thought the reveals at the end about who the actual killer is, it made sense. Once again, not breaking any new ground. It's not like it blew my mind or anything, but I thought it fit the movie. Another very distinctive thing about this particular film is that there's a bunch of memorable kill sequences. Like, it has a bunch of gore effects, obviously, but there's just some memorable kills. Like, there's one of them where, like, he puts a woman in an oven to, like, fry her as a turkey. I think it was in the trailers. And one of them that really stood out to me, like, the killer does something with a wire to somebody. It's one of the earlier kills in the movie, and like does something with like a dumpster in another one. And so I certainly memorized the kills in this movie, and I think also what really works about this movie is that it properly sets itself up for some sequels. Where it ends, when you know what the ending is, it clearly sets itself up for more sequels, just like Halloween and more stuff. And I could see myself watching this every November. And so in general, a movie that I expected, I didn't know what to expect, and I got a lot of fun out of watching this film. But for me, easily in first place, The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. This one, I have said this before, I think this is my favorite of the Hunger Games films. Inherently, it just feels different from the rest of the franchise. It is set 64 years before the original Hunger Games takes place, and it's told from the entirely different perspective. And so when it's set during the 10th Hunger Games, inherently the different setting, it just feels different. Like, everything down to the arena that they play in, it's just not the same as it is in the 74th Hunger Games. And hey, I watched all the Hunger Games movies for the first time, like, last month in preparation for this one, and I said this one was the best. Also, back to what I was saying, it was told from an entirely different perspective. It's told from a perspective of Snow, and I think having that changes things up a little bit, in which case Snow is not really a good guy. He's a much darker character. Of course, he's the villain in the other Hunger Games movies, but it does so in a way where you're not rooting for him, but you kind of also want to follow him around as he goes on this evil character transformation. You kind of want to follow him around as well, and it's just a darker perspective to be in, where he's not noble like Katniss, where he's not always doing the right thing in these movies. And maybe even that's the case, and why I like this movie for it just felt darker than all the other movies in this franchise to me. The other ones had this like sense of hope and certain victories at the end, in which case they were like satisfying at the end. This one kind of has an unsatisfying ending, but in a way it also made sense and set the path for where this character is going to be 64 years later. And so this one is darker than the other Hunger Games movies, but I will say that benefits it. Like, you're watching some characters make awful decisions, do awful things, but it also just remains compelling. It doesn't go into that gross ick factor all that much. It keeps you intrigued and wondering what they're going to do next, and wonder how he's going to descend into more madness. And so this one was just a pleasant surprise. I'm brand new to this franchise, and so call me crazy if you want to, but for me, my favorite of this month and of the Hunger Games franchise, The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. There you have it. That's my ranking. Down below in the comment section, share your ranking over on my channel. I have more content like this. Check those out right now. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to the end, and I will see you in the next one.